This presentation will be a brief history and an overview about mixed drinks. So the first question is, what is a mixed drink? If you look at a more maybe technical definition, it would say, an alcoholic drink combining two or more ingredients, such as liquor, liquors, fruit juices, flavorings, garnishes, fruit pieces, all kinds of stuff. But in actuality, this includes non-alcoholic drinks as well. Any drink that consists of two or more combined components, that is a beverage, is considered a mixed drink. So the history of the mixed drink is it's been around for many, many years. Since the Middle Ages, they've been combining ingredients to create concoctions or beverages that taste better combined versus on their own. Some examples would be the wassail bowl or the huckle my butt. You can look up those recipes if you want. They've been around for hundreds of years. The first time, though, that mixed drinks really documented was in Jerry Thomas's Bartender's Guide, or How to Mix Drinks. It was published in 1862. This was the first book that really broke down bartending and the mixed drinks, different recipes, different styles, some of the quote-unquote rules of mixed drinks. Another term you may have heard is a cocktail. A classical definition is a drink composed of spirits, sugar, water, and bitters. Bitters being what makes it a cocktail. A more modern definition now is really a mixed drink, which includes alcohol, and we will treat it as such through the rest of the presentation. The origin of this term of the cocktail is disputed. Many different stories. One is the idea of the French word for an egg cup, which is the cockatee, in that the drinks were being served in egg cups, so they were called cockatiés, and then it transitioned to cocktail. Like I said, it's disputed, but that's just one story of maybe the origin of the cocktail. Here's the first documented definition of cocktail. As previously mentioned, it's the bitters are the defining quality. So cocktail is a stimulating liquor composed of spirits of any kind of sugar, water, and bitters. Like I said, the bitter is the defining element that made the cocktail, but now in modern terms, cocktail is just used to define any alcoholic mixed drink. So, types of cocktails. There's no comprehensive categorization of all the cocktails. One, it'd be way too time intensive, and two, the beauty of the cocktail or the mixed drink is there's infinite possibilities. You can combine whatever ingredients you want. It's about the drinker's or the taster's palate. There's no right or wrong in terms of mixed drinks. Also, categorizing them can be very difficult. Some drinks fall under multiple categories, whereas others, if you just make it on your own, maybe it doesn't have a category necessarily that it falls under. Here's some classic types of cocktails, though. The first would be the sour. It's a combination of alcohol, a citrus, sometimes a lime or an orange, and some kind of sweetener, usually maybe a simple syrup or sugar. The alcohol used in this is usually a whiskey, gin, rum, or tequila. A classic example would be the margarita. Another type of cocktail is the highball. This is the staple of the highball is alcohol and really any kind of non-alcoholic beverage. Sometimes if you want to make a fizz, it's a highball using a carbonated beverage. And with the highball, so versatile, so generic, really any choice of spirit is the standard. A classic example would be the screwdriver of orange juice and vodka. The fizz, as previously mentioned, is very similar to the highball. It's adding a carbonated beverage. In this case, also, it's usually fruit juices in the fizz. Gin is kind of the staple for the fizz. And an example of that, as you may have heard, would be the slow gin fizz, which incorporates sloe berries. Other types of cocktails, julep, which we've heard of before. The staple of this is the mint. The mint defines the julep. Also sugar, water, and alcohol. The alcohol usually used in this would be a vodka, whiskey, or gin. So as we've all heard, probably the mint julep. A flip, a more rare beverage you may have not heard of. It involves a beaten egg with alcohol, sugar, and then topped with nutmeg. So usually rum or brandy. Maybe you haven't heard of the flip, but you've definitely heard of eggnog. So eggnog that's spiked is technically a flip. Punch, very popular, but a punch can also be a cocktail when alcohol is added. So fruit juices, spices, fruit garnishes. Really, it's the maker's discretion of what the punch will look like. But there are recipes such as the wassail bowl, as mentioned earlier, and really any choice of spirit is okay for a punch. Depends on the flavor profile you're going for. And the final popular cocktail would also be the cobbler. What defines this is the fruit bits that are included in the drink. So it's a fruit-based drink with fruit juice and sugars and alcohol. Usually sweeter, more fruity-based alcohols are used for this, such as sherry, wine, fruit liqueurs, but a whiskey could be used as well, as seen in the whiskey cobbler. These are some classic cocktails. The beauty of the classic cocktail is it's a staple that people like. It's been around for a while, but also it gives you room for experimentation. Why don't you take an old fashioned or a martini and add a splash of strawberry because you like strawberries, and you kind of make your own drink now. Like I said, it's the taster's discretion. But here's just a list of some of the classics you may have heard of. Some are probably new to you. Some you've heard before. The martini, the Manhattan. We've heard of those before, most likely. So here we'll break down two of the classic cocktails, a little history behind them, and you can just see a recipe for them. So first is the old-fashioned. Where the old-fashioned get its name, originally when the cocktail was used in the classical definition, as mentioned before about the sugar, the water, the spirits, and the bitters. You could ask for a whiskey cocktail, and it'd be that recipe, just whiskey would be your spirit. But then as things became more fancy, more variety, with such as Jerry Thomas's book, with more fancy ways of making cocktails or mixed drinks, people had to ask for an old-fashioned whiskey cocktail. They didn't want any fruit, anything fancy. They just wanted an old-fashioned cocktail, the old-fashioned whiskey cocktail, and that slowly transitioned just to the name old-fashioned. Here you can see a recipe for that. Or the Manhattan. Where did this get its name? History likes to say it was served in the Manhattan Club, and that Winston Churchill's mother requested and ordered it frequently, giving it the Manhattan name. But once again, this is just a story. There's other theories as well. The exact origin of the Manhattan name is in limbo or in argument. You can see the recipe for the Manhattan as well. So what are some current trends in the cocktail and mixed drink industry? It's an industry that's ever changing. So for example, we have chef cocktails. These are cocktails where chefs and mixologists or bartenders are coming together to create kind of a more flavor profile inspired drink. Salted spirits, so we've put salt on the rim of a cocktail glass before, but in this case it's actually putting a pinch of salt in the drink itself to kind of change the flavor profile. Soda fountain drinks, here's a touch on, as we mentioned before, mixed drinks do not have to be alcoholic. So this soda fountain drink would be a non-alcoholic drink flavored with artisanal syrups. So kind of an homage to the soda jerks of days past, where you had those different flavor profiles being mixed together. So soda fountain drinks. Some really interesting ones. There's like fennel and almond and some really out there recipes if you do some searching for those soda fountain drinks. And finally, tea infusions. Tea is the second most popular beverage worldwide. And they're just kind of taking that and infusing it with alcohol. So we have spirits steeped with tea to give it that tea flavor. They're very popular. So presentation is a huge thing when it comes to the cocktail. Performance is key. So there's flair bartending. That's the flair when making a drink, of maybe tossing a bottle or pouring in two alcohols at the same time into a glass, or having fun. There's working flair and there's exhibition flair. So working flair is that flair that should be performed for a customer. It's practical but entertaining. So Jerry Thomas used working flair when making his famous blue blazer. He would ignite the alcohol and pour it between two glasses, and then as it mixed, so that's practical. Exhibition flair is kind of what you see in the picture of people going above and beyond, above practical. It's not good for bartending as a business, but it's fun to watch. And some bars do kind of advertise that as their competitive advantage of their niche, is we will be overly performance to entertain you as you make your drink. Also, fresh ingredients is very important. If I as a customer see you cutting my lemon or cutting my lime before you put it into my drink, psychologically speaking, I think this drink's going to taste better, and obviously, practically speaking, fresh ingredients do taste better as well. So taste and psychology play a huge part in the cocktail and the mixed drinks. So just remember that cocktails are just as much about looks, as well as like the look in the glass, as well as the look as it's being created, as well as how it tastes. Those have huge influence. Our perception of sight, our smell, the preparation, watching that has a huge influence on our taste and how we respond to the cocktail. So ultimately, in summary, mixed drinks are meant to be creative and unique. Have fun with your mixed drinks. Add fruit, splash your favorite, juice or spirit. This is not an area where you should be drawing inside the lines. Be creative. Create your own signature. A good mixed drink is extremely memorable. If I come over to your place or your bar, and you make me a drink I've never heard of before, and it's your drink, I'm going to remember that bar. I'm going to remember that drink. I'm going to want to come back, especially if it's good. So yeah, in closing, have fun, but also be responsible.
Hopefully from this presentation I've whet your appetite a little bit to want to learn more about mixed drinks and cocktails. This is a list of the sources I use to gather my information for this basic overview in history. If you'd like to learn more, I'd be a great place to start, but obviously there's other resources as well that go far more in-depth into the history as well as the current trends of mixed drinks and cocktails. Thanks again for watching my presentation. Hope you learned something new.